All right, let's have a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. Please note, hi Heidi, that Linda's absent. Open forum, is there anyone like to address the board?
Hello? There we go. You can hear me. Hi, I'm Tom Jones. I'm from Albert Lea. I think most of you know me. I'm a fifth generation of my family to attend Albert Lea schools. I currently have two kids about ready to start at Lakeview School in fifth grade. With our schools starting this week, I wanted to share some information with you as board members about 22 districts in southwestern Minnesota. 6 years ago, a group of schools to the west of us formed a consortium of schools called the FLY District, with FLY meaning Flexible Learning Year. The Minnesota Department of Education approved these school districts that featured a schedule that would start 2 weeks early before Labor Day, so they would complete the semester before Christmas. I'm here to tell you today that of those 22 districts, only 3 are starting post-Labor Day this year. 19 have dropped, okay? According to an article in the Pipestone County Star concerning the Edgerton School District, one of those 22 schools, their superintendent, Keith Buckridge, stated, "There's no evidence showing that starting school earlier is actually working. If we saw an upward trend, then my recommendation would be to stay with it." The schools that remain are Springfield, Redwood Falls, and Sleepy Eye, while schools such as Marshall, Windham, and Laverne, where school surveys show the majority of kids wanted to have their semester end after Christmas, have dropped out of the consortium. In Marshall, a study by Southwest State University of student, staff, licensed teachers, community members, and parents shows 63% of the respondents did not want school to start before Labor Day. The numbers are out there. 19 of the 22 schools are back to post-Labor Day over the past 6 years. With the parents that I just got done coaching having their seasons end on August 7th, which was the case with the U10 softball girls, there does not leave much time for a family vacation, such as the one my family took at the end of August last year after our sports seasons had ended. I hope you take the time to research more of these results that I have brought forth to you today and ask if this early start will be truly successful and was it best for our community. One last question too, does anybody know when MCA results are coming? We have conferences this week and my family does not have any MCA results for fourth grade yet. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Next.
Sonia Hill, Albert Lea. ISD 241 board members, I need to read this statement. I was employed as the Albert Lea High School Director of Bands from 2008 to 2011. In April of 2011, I was placed on unrequested leave of absence as a result of a district building realignment. In January of 2012, I wrote a letter of reinstatement to then board chair Bill Leland. A few days later...
Sonia, this is a school board meeting, it's an open forum. However, there are some rules about disclosing information about any employee, which you are bound to. And so you, as a third person, I think are speaking for someone else about a matter that's a personnel matter, and there are procedures for that. And this is not the procedure.
This is on behalf of Peter Gebson, and his story will be going to the press.
And that's fine, but the procedure at the board meeting is not this. All right, celebrating our successes. Mark, do you want to come up here? So that the picture taking can happen up here? Mike, can you turn that off, please?
School board members, it is a great pleasure for me to be here tonight to present some awards to 3 of our students. The awards are for AP Scholar and AP Distinction, which means if a student was recognized for AP Scholar, they took at least 3 AP tests and scored a 3 out of 5 on those tests. If they were a scholar with distinction, they scored a 3.5 or higher. So we have 3 gentlemen today that are with us that took the AP exams. They did very well. The first one I'd like to present a certificate to is Sam Moyer. Sam, you can come up. And you're headed to Luther College. Anything you want to say, Sam?
Thanks for supporting me through my early years.
So Sam's headed to Luther. Also, AP Scholar Award to Matthew Tate. Congratulations, sir. And you're headed, remind me?
To U of M, Twin Cities,
And what school there?
engineering and science.
Okay, congratulations. And AP Scholarship with Distinction, Samuel Ware. Congratulations, Sam. And you're headed to Madison, right?
Yeah.
So we got a Gopher, a Madison, and one going to Luther. So outstanding work by these young gentlemen. They're very talented academically and in other extracurriculars, band, choir, student council, National Honor Society. So very proud to have them at the high school.
Thank you very much. Item 5, approval of today's agenda. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Julie. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, the consent items. Mike, would you inform the board of a change, please?
Jeannie Garbers, please take her off the consent for resignation as high school fax.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I will be abstaining. I'm a substitute teacher, so I won't be voting on that. Thank you.
Okay, please note that, Heidi. All others in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Sorry. Reports, Dr. Funk.
Couple things tonight. First thing, I attended a training up at Hill-Murray High School in the Twin Cities a couple weeks ago, and it's called ALICE training, and it deals with school security issues, school shooters. And if anyone who's paying attention in the news, we are seeing more and more violence in society going on, and so this seminar I attended is supposed to be the best of the best as far as how to deal with some of these events. And what it is, it teaches staff members and students the concept of alert, locate, inform, counter, and evacuate. And so I went through 2 days of that. The interesting thing, and I'm going to be recommending at some point, we'll have further discussion on this, maybe at a workshop in the fall, and give you some more information on it. I'm going to be recommending that perhaps in January our staff get trained on this concept. The Department of Education has evolved with their approach to school lockdowns and how to keep students safe since 2007. In 2007, they were, as late as 2007, they had a lockdown procedure where that's basically lock your doors, turn off the lights, and hide underneath your desk. And this is what we learned from generations ago, and they talked about it going back to protection from a nuclear threat. Unfortunately, there are experts out there who study shootings, mass shootings, and they have come back to the government and they have said that's probably not the best approach to keeping our folks who work with us and our students safe. So in 2013, the Department of Education, as I said, researched this, and they have resulted in a change in their guidance. They are now really promoting the ALICE concept, and I'll go back to that again, of alert, locate, inform, counter, evacuate. And so that's what the training was about. The interesting piece on that, and the one that freaks everybody out, is the counter. Okay, we're going to teach people to fight. No, we're not going to teach people to fight. It's if you're locked into a room and somebody does come into the room, what can you do to distract or distract the bad person so that maybe other people can evacuate and escape. So that's it was, like I said, it was some great training. School districts from all over Minnesota were there. I ran into Matt Esterby. He used to be one of our elementary principals. He's now an elementary principal in Hastings. So we had a really good conversation about it and what Hastings is doing, and how they had an actual kid with a gun in their school a few years ago at their middle school. So it, again, is the part of keeping us safe as a school district. I think this would be very beneficial. You're going to hear Jenny Hansen here come up and talk in a little bit, and the board is aware of this, but I wanted the public to be aware of this. So the state of Minnesota came out through the legislature with a new $25 million grant to fund pre-K education. So essentially, if they fund you, your students will receive state aid, and they in turn will receive their education for free, just like if they were in kindergarten. So we have got top-notch individuals who work through this district from top to bottom. I'm very fortunate and blessed to work with great people. And this slide gives us an example of what I'm talking about. So all the schools on that slide are schools in the Big Nine, and they all applied for the grant. And with the exception of Northfield, they all applied for the preschool grant. And as you can see, Albert Lee had 100 students funded, Austin 50, Faribault 18, Mankato 32, and the rest had none. So just great job to Jenny Hansen, who you're going to hear from here in a little bit, and Lori Voles for putting the efforts in to help out our students. So couldn't be prouder of the efforts, and our kids here will definitely benefit from this. The last thing, Kathy Niebuhr's been doing a great job all summer long, holding community discussions on the transgender policy. And essentially what I'm going to be recommending to the board at this point is we recommend no change. We've raised, I think, the level of awareness on this issue within our school community. And this is a case that is locked in the courts right now. I think there are 13 or 14 states that have filed lawsuit against the federal government. So I think the most prudent thing to do would be to wait and see how that lawsuit comes out. And so I think somebody told me, they were asked the question last week, okay, what's going to happen with the bathrooms at the high school when we come back in the fall? Nothing at this point in time. So just wanted to be clear about that. But great discussions from all accounts from Kathy. She had her last one today. And that is the recommendation at this point. What are your questions?
Justine?
Okay, so link crew phone calls have been made to homes, so for me that means that school is right around the corner.
Can you hit your button? Justine, can you hit your button again?
Sorry, yeah.
I think it's... Let me try.
Okay, here we go. everything else is kind of just getting rolling, like student council, NHS, sports are getting started. I think tryouts are for a lot of sports this week. Otherwise, I really don't have much to share, but next time I definitely will, because we'll be right in the middle of it all. So that's it.
Thank you. Just an update. To date, I have no response from my request last meeting for the chair to step down from position. Also, we did receive some timely information from our human resource administrator about open meetings, and glancing at that, I would like to formally request an independent external investigation into the April 18th meeting, and I have those letters I'll pass out today. Thank you.
No outside board meetings to report on.
Again, it went to the board, charged us with the mission of a new mission statement. We gave it to the principals in a meeting. The principals then went and met with staff members on it. We had different takes on it from the different buildings. We had an administrative retreat about 3 weeks ago where we discussed the mission statement again. And coming out of that retreat is the statement that you have in front of you. And the other thing that was really clear that came out of that meeting was they really appreciate the concept of the needs of our students come first. I think that was a real strong value that came out of the discussion.
I remember during our discussion, we talked about the word citizens. What was some of the conversation revolving and landing with citizens rather than community members, that type of thing?
We talked big C versus little c. You know, what does it mean to be a citizen? Is it an American citizen, or is it a citizen of our community? And Johanna Thomas was really the one who had brought this up, the principal at Halverson. And I think the group, and I have a number of them sitting here in the front row, I think we came to the conclusion that a citizen of our community, as opposed to an American citizen. So that was the thought process on that.
Thank you. I'm aware that some of the population does just look at that word differently and feels that if they are not an American citizen, somehow it's hard to apply the word to them. So, but I can understand the ending up with that meaning as far as what most of us understand. I do like the overall wholeness piece of it. It involves academic, social, and emotional growth, and that I think is an important piece of the mission, and also lends to how important it is that the environment and the atmosphere in the schools is conducive to that growth. Thank you.
Sorry. It's an action item, so take a motion to approve the mission statement as posted.
I'll make that motion to approve the mission statement as written.
Is there a second? Second. Thanks, Julie. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Steve Lund, Energy Report.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to be here with you, and it's always a pleasure to give my annual report and to tell you just exactly, are you gonna? Okay.
I don't think, oh, is,
We'll already moved it for you, so.
It's on. Yep, it's on. Can't you hear me? Boy, I've never had that problem. Okay, just to give you a little background, we've been in this program since 2004, so almost 13 years now. And over that period of time, we've been under contract with Synergistic, which started out as Energy Education, and now has changed their name because they deal with a broader spectrum than just education. And over those 13 years, or almost 13 years, we've saved about $3.3 million in energy costs. And for this past year, our energy costs, just as background for you, about $583,000, almost $584,000. And just to give you a little more comparison, our cost per student is $181. And even though this is a relatively small part of cost in the school district, probably second to staff, so it's a substantial cost anyway. And I always like to go back and compare to our base year, which is 2002, 2003, and you can see now how we compare. Even though we've gone through a lot of changes in the district as far as HVAC equipment, air conditioning, all of these things have increased the demand for electricity, but it's been offset by other things. So you can see that we're still considerably under what we used in 2002, 2003. And as important is our demand costs, because demand can determine your price that you pay for the month. They take little 15-minute snippets, and the highest amount that you use during the month is the price you pay. So whether it's only 15 minutes of the month, that's the level you pay for the entire month. And you can see our costs have gone up. I mean, our cost per kilowatt, but not a huge amount. It's significant, but not a huge amount. And in spite of all those things, we're still slightly below where we were in total cost in 2002-03. Natural gas, very similar. We still see a reduction in therms. And natural gas is below what we were paying in 2002, 2003 as far as unit cost. And again, we're still below for comparison for 2002, 2003. And some of that, we've added new boilers to some of these schools. They're much more efficient. Other schools that didn't get the new boilers, they're up a little bit, but it's been offset with those that got new boilers. So it's still a good situation. And water and sewer, we've reduced that. But you can see the cost there is doubled where we were at that point in time. Well, as I understand it, the city built for a large plant. And that plant didn't stay here in town, or we lost it through the fire. And so someone has to pay the cost. And also, the city's electric costs have gone up, and so they forward that to you also. So you can see why our water, and we've done a lot of things to try to reduce that water consumption. And one of the biggest cost savings there was reducing the size of our meters in some of our schools. They were oversized at the time, back when elementary schools had showers and no one ever used them. You didn't need that much volume in a school, so we reduced the size of the meters because that's a fixed amount you pay every month. Some of those meters we were paying $500 before we used a drop. So by reducing it, you save $200-300 a month. So that's one of the ways we looked at that. it's a little bit small, but you can see over the last 13 years exactly what we've saved. And our savings this year was $305,619. And that's pretty consistent with where we've been. But even more important, you can see at $583,000, we're below the $665 that we paid in 2002, 2003. So, you know, we're always changing, we're always adding, we've made no adjustments for that. I know some school districts go in and they will adjust according to the age, because motors as they age use more electricity, and as they add different things to the school district. This you know, adding air conditioning and keeping the cost that low is really a tremendous job they've done. So that's, because that can be, I know districts that have gone through that, and it's a substantial cost to them. So that's good. And I've just thrown in a graph to give you kind of a comparison over the last 3 years to show you just exactly on the graph. This hasn't been modified by weather or anything like that. So it's just raw data there. And also our comparison for gas use. And you can see we're fairly consistent there. Although it was a mild, very mild winter, I would expect that to be considerably higher if we had a harsh winter again. And, but hopefully we won't. All right, and building cost comparison, there's 3 different ratings there, and one is our Minnesota B3 peer rating, they call it, and that's where I submit all of our data to the state of Minnesota, and they compare us with other districts, other buildings of similar size, similar age, similar use. So the idea is to get a score as close to 100 as you can there, and our schools have done very, very well. Sibley, that 100 has to be qualified because there's no way to compare a building that doesn't use any gas. Sibley does not have a boiler. It gets all of its fuel or all of its heat from Southwest. So it looks a lot better than it probably should. And Southwest, likewise, should probably look better because we can't add on that it's heating another building. They just don't have the ability to do that. Again, an Energy Star, that's a national comparison then. And so I like to always keep myself aware of how we would compare with other districts and other uses. And again, this is a score of 100. 75 earns you Energy Star Award if you apply for it. We haven't applied for it since 2007 because it's a lot of paperwork and, and I know where we're at. So, unless it means, unless it means something to somebody else, it doesn't to me. So, and again, you can see all of our buildings qualify. So we're doing well. And our cost per square foot, you get an idea there how we, and it's obvious, the senior high, they have a pool, they're open almost 24/7. It's pretty difficult to bring that cost down. And if you're looking at the greenhouse gas emissions, the amount we have saved is equivalent to growing 587,899 trees for 10 years, or 4,777 cars taken off the road for 1 year. So, that's also an important part of it. It's not just cost savings. I look at it as we're doing our bit to protect the environment, we're doing our bit to protect our taxpayers, but we're also hopefully educating our students that this is an important part of your education, that because I'm sure it gets brought up in the classroom every once in a while. Okay, any questions?
Just have a comment, just to thank you for your continued diligence in this particular area. It's one of those things that we see you once a year, but the payoff is always significant, and what we are able to receive out of it with regards to being able to put those money back into the classroom.
Yep.
We thank you for your efforts.
Good, thank you, thank you. All right.
Is that working? Okay, I'm going to take control here maybe. So the thought exchange results, this is from the second thought exchange. If you're on the district's webpage, you go from the home page, scroll down, you'll see thought exchange, and then this link will take you out to this, our second thought exchange, which was to the community and parents. We received the results on or about June 23rd, 24th. Then there's some conversations about, for instance, last time, we know that if there were rude or hurtful comments or comments about individual people, so they ask about, for instance, the last one, who was Tom Cody? Well, Tom was not a school employee, but somebody who presented. So then some discussion about how to lay this out. One of the things we really wanted was if there were top results, for instance, if staff morale showed up 2 or 3 times at the top, we wanted that to show. But if there were 2 or 3 other ones down the line, we also wanted those to show. So I'll show you some of those pieces. So there were 560 people across the community and school district who participated. So these were our community appreciates. And one of the things that Thought Exchange did for us was we asked them to pull out the particulars about teachers. We know that that has been a concern. So Mary Jo is going to share with you in a paper format the celebration of teachers from each building. So certainly put teachers and staff at the top. Teacher and administration relationships, they talk specifically here. We took some district ones, and then you'll see some individual school ones as we look at the buildings. Communication, parent-student portal is very important. You can email students, teachers, you can check grades, etc. And that'll be going live again tomorrow as the high school starts to pick up their assignment schedules. They appreciate sports and extracurricular. And then curriculum. So they pull the top 5, and one of the things we wanted to ensure is that if it said teachers, 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 the top 5, we of course want that there, but then so they bunch them together in themes. So these are really the top 5 themes for the district. The next is the concerns, and you'll see class size is one of those that comes really across. And at the district office, we're doing central registration now. So we're keenly aware of class sizes as students enter the district here. It's been a very busy day. Heidi has been extraordinarily busy with students coming in. So the concern, of course, is when we approach class sizes of 30, this addressed a particular school, but it's really a concern that we see across buildings. Curriculum, not enough time in the day to implement curricular requirements. Kids do not get brain breaks or quality morning meetings, and time to implement interventions to individual kids. Retaining and attracting teachers, this is something certainly that we've talked about for many months. Our community is facing a crisis in workforce development and retention. Community and school need to find ways to attract and retain the best teachers. Teacher and administration relationship, also been a point of discussion. No one is perfect, but respect goes a long way when working out our differences. And then staff input. I'm concerned with some of the decision-making. Teacher input would be appreciated. So those are the district-wide top thoughts. I think some of the ways that thoughts are shared is by number of people who entered the thoughts, and then by how many stars, and then by passion. And passion is, so if I sort by passion, 2 people are going to put all 16 of their stars, then that rate's really high. whereas we might have 14 people who rate maybe 2 stars. So again, most of these are rated by the number of people and the number of stars. Additional thoughts shared, community engagement. We need to do this together, parents, teachers, administrators, and community. We need to come together if we want District 241 to succeed. That means having open and honest discussions with all parties involved. We need to listen and be respectful to others' opinions and input. School environment, kids love it here. We have all worked hard to create some place where students want to come each day and they feel safe and welcome. Parents feel like they can come in and not feel intimidated to walk into a school building. They are welcomed and treated with respect each time they enter. Parent engagement, I think most parents would appreciate the opportunity to give only on a school level, but also on a district level. The administration at each school may have good relationships with the PTO parents, but sometimes the rest of the parents feel a little out of the loop. So engaging all parents, appreciative thoughts. I love the way our schools are doing what's best for my child. Our district is constantly looking for new and innovative ways to keep children interested in learning while still teaching the fundamentals. Again, communication, important. Open communication is extremely important in all areas of the district, so keeping an open line of communication between parents, teachers, staff, administration, and the community is vital for the district's continued success. So the district thoughts, these really are taking all of the district results from all of the buildings, the thought exchange then groups those. And so you'll see that there really are 26 thoughts, which 560 people have contributed to. And then each of these you can drill down and see these are all class sizes. And these are the ones that have concerns. And then, of course, if you go up to question 2, which are the appreciates, teachers and staff. And again, you can scroll through all of those thoughts. So then, clicking on school results, you can see all of these thoughts that are in here by school. That's the process. They talk about a little bit about the starring, the discovering is very similar, the participation. So you could see 560 people across the community participated, 1344 thoughts, stars, 1.5 months, so it's open till the end of May. I think these are good statistics here. 70% of parent and guardians, so 397 of those thoughts, 22% or 128 staff members. Oh, Heidi, she's gonna take control. And community members, 28 or 5%. So as you look at the school results, some of the results, like from Brookside, we had very few, so you'll see 2 or 3 thoughts there that were chosen. And to see the school results, then you can click on the map, and you can see all the thoughts that were just exchanged by building. So, but I think as we start the school year, we'd like to celebrate the teachers and staff, and Mary Jo has a nice document that Thought Exchange pulled together for us.
Okay, so tomorrow we kick off with our staff. Woo-hoo, are we all ready? Actually, we are. And so we thought what a great way to celebrate, to pull out all the awesome Thought Exchange comments about our teachers and our staff. And so I'll have Kathy pull those out. While she's doing that, I thought I'd just update you on a few other current things that are happening as we move forward. Tomorrow, all staff will be reporting to their buildings, and the administration, the principals have planned awesome kickoffs that will take place, and that will be all staff in the buildings. And Thought Exchange, one thing we heard over and over again was from staff, was that we want a national speaker. And thanks to Mark Grossklaus, last year he brought in Tom Cody, very well received by the high school, and so all of us down in elementary were like, we want to hear who this guy is too. So the district will kick off with Tom Cody on Friday, and that will include all staff, custodians, paras, teachers, everyone. And his message is awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks, Mark, for setting that up. The other thing I wanted to publicly thank administrators for is our Corinne population continues to grow. And I work quite a bit with that population and the success coaches and said, how do we do outreach to you? Because I'm not sure we reached out on Thought Exchange to them. So they said, what about coming to our church? We're all there. So yesterday, all the administrators, myself, we all headed to the Corinne Church, did a meet and greet, asked for feedback, questions answered. Over 150 people there, helped with a lot of the miscellaneous stuff that we don't always think of. And so it was just a great way to get feedback from those families as well as we prepare all families for school. So thanks again to the administrators for doing that. New teachers, just FYI, started this past Thursday. They finished up today, and that was under the leadership of Pam Jacobson and Erin Gustafson. And feedback from the new teachers was they're tired. It was a lot to learn, a little nervous, but they're ready to go. And this year, just things coming up, we will have several other districts coming to observe us. I don't know that I shared this last year, but last year we had 11 districts come and say, we want to see what's going on for reading and math. And because we really in this district have focused on growth, and other districts are like, how are you doing that? What are your PLCs looking like? And so it's been fun to do that. And we had 3 districts the end of last year in April want to come, and we're like, we're shut down because kind of wrapping up. Don't want to disturb our students at this point. And so they're coming this year. And I just also want to recognize Chris Quisley. She will be talking in a minute here, but she was chosen to be on the Minnesota Math Council. So another teacher leader who's stepping forward in this district and just standing out in the state. So way to go, Chris. And that is all I have.
So did that have anything to do with the document you just passed out to the board?
Sorry, I like sharing great stuff, so.
I think one of the lessons learned is celebrating teachers, and so we are really trying to kick off the year doing that. We have had a couple of meetings with teacher leaders all afternoon with our ATPPS group, and on Friday we did, for the first time, we met with just our secondary group, which we've never had, and all of those teacher leaders walked away going, why didn't we think of this before? Really allowed our secondary people, 612, to focus on secondary issues and secondary comments. And I think if you talk to those teacher leaders, it's really going to be something we're going to do different this year, and excited about that opportunity. So.
Just about thought we got away there, Bill.
Nope. So thank you for the report. I appreciate it. And again, I've been trying to get through a lot of the stuff, but there's a lot of data there.
There's a lot of data.
You know, are there plans to take the information that we have, you know, again, we need to celebrate where we need to celebrate, but we need to improve where we need to improve. So what are we doing there?
So, yeah, I should have explained a little bit more of that. So obviously, Tom Cody was one thing, and if you go through the Thought Exchange, you'll see his name over and over. Another thing that teachers said was, for elementary, is we want more time with our district grade level teams. And so that is already planned on Wednesday, I believe. Yes, Wednesday, from 7:30 till noon. Teachers, if you're a second grade teacher, you will be with all the second grade teachers in the district, and they'll be talking reading, math, science, social studies, responsive classroom. And that was planned because of what teachers have asked. So, yeah, so we are taking it seriously.
And I think the community piece, we have, as Mary Jo said, they reached out to the Corinne community this weekend. We also met with all of our success coaches this last week and are going to meet with our high school success coaches and really talking about, they do a lot of really good things in the elementary, kind of that personal conversation, connection, and we make some assumptions at the secondary level that, okay, they have a teenage child, they will get that information home, and I think what was has come out from not only talking to the success coaches, but yesterday was, they just are like every other American teenager and don't bring information home either. And so we've made some assumptions, climbed the ladder of inference, as we say, about making connections. So that's one piece. But I think the other piece is really talking about staff input at the secondary level. As I said, we had our first secondary meeting the other day. We have not had 612 curriculum teams meet over the last several years, and that's a piece that one of the math teachers came up to me and said, you know, we don't have to meet as often as the elementary, but we sure would like some input and discussion. We've asked some of our middle school staff to work with our high school staff in a little bit different way, and have sat down this summer and had some discussions about why that is, why did you get moved, and we're trying to become better at that discussion. We also are going to be looking at probably a change in how we offer our middle school services to students who are receiving ALC, who meet ALC requirements, because we do have that middle school program. So we're looking at offering some core instruction along with social emotional health. And so one of the pieces Thought Exchange talked with us about is, so we can now, if you want to take a look at some of these results, let's talk about how do we tick off some of those items and address moving forward on those. So yes, I think one of the other pieces is we've looked at other school districts. Northfield and Mankato also have their Thought Exchange posted. And they've asked some different questions and different items and come to different conclusions. So also some Thought Exchange provides us the opportunity to think about what other districts are doing to address some of the issues. So is that kind of okay?
I have a question, I thought it was a good process to get input from the community. I did read the Tribune article that came out when the results came out, and there was a piece in there that wasn't according to my understanding. Now, is this the survey that the board directed? Because the board directed surveys. This is what we directed, correct?
We had this conversation in December that we were going to be contracting with Thought Exchange, and as part of that conversation, we would have, I believe it was 3 community surveys and 1 staff survey a year, and this was the first community survey. And this was the approach that Thought Exchange recommended, and they called this a weather report approach, just to get a feel for what people are thinking about your district. Nothing focused, nothing, you know, I know one of the concerns that we have in the district, facilities-wise, is Hammerfield. And so at some point, are we going to ask our community what some of the options might be about Hammerfield? Again, I think this was just to get people used to the process of using it. Before we use it again, I believe that it certainly would warrant a board-level discussion as far as, okay, what are we looking for from the community next, now that they have some familiarity with the survey?
Thank you, and that's my understanding about the survey itself too. I just a comment that I had read up there about the origin of it. I just wanted to clarify. Then I am correct that it's from the board, not any other entity that this is coming from. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I on, or? Yep. I'm good, okay. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Dr. Funk kind of alluded to the good news that we have in pre-K, and I believe Heidi had passed out kind of an overview, kind of bullet points of what I put together to give you more information. We were actually one of 74 school districts and charter schools who received this voluntary pre-K funding, allowing us to fund for up to 100 pre-K students for a potential total of $818,959. I even have a hard time saying that number. It's pretty awesome. And this will allow us to have collaboration with special services for an additional 20 students served within those same voluntary pre-K classrooms. So we are talking about 120 students potentially going for free to pre-K. We have, as part of the funding process, we did our application for specifically Halverson and Hawthorne elementary sites, kind of based on the criteria that was set before us. And so we have 2 classrooms with 4 sections of up to 20 students each at Halverson, including the special education placements or referrals that could come up throughout the year. And then 1 classroom and 2 sections of up to 20 students each at Hawthorne, again, including special education placements and referrals. It's a lot of pieces to put in place, and so we have decided program-wide for community education pre-K, as well as the new voluntary pre-K program that we will not be starting until September 6th in order for us to get these 3 classrooms up and running. They are basically empty, so we are building them from scratch. But I got notice today that semi is coming August 25th, so we're excited about that. As far as promotion and how this was laid out to the community, we had, after Governor Dayton's big announcement, we did have our local website and Facebook announcements here through the school district. I was actually featured on both KWAL and KIMT TV stories shortly after, and then also a very nice article in the Albert Lee Tribune showcasing our voluntary pre-K program. We also then last week sent out a school messenger announcement, and that is not listed on your sheet, so you might want to add that. School messenger was sent out. Ashley helped us set that up, and actually within 10 minutes we had 6 calls. So it was very exciting, and those messages did go out to just the Halverson and Hawthorne area students. And then last week, banners came in, and I went out and placed them at Hawthorne's Park. And then we also had them put up at Memorial Park, so we got permission from the city to place them on their fence. And so they're in very prominent places. I already saw picnics and things going on in both places. And we also got calls back already from people that had seen them on the fence. So that's exciting. Right now, there's a Yellow Brick Broadway event going on downtown. And I have a huge banner, and we are passing out bubbles with all of the voluntary pre-K information and how to get registered for free bubbles when they do their Mickey Mouse March at approximately 8 o'clock. And then tomorrow, Alyssa Wachter, my lead early childhood teacher, will be getting filmed for a KWAL TV commercial. And it will run from August 22nd through Labor Day, 3 times a day. I told you the times on there, between 6 and 7 in the morning, 1 spot during Good Morning America, and then again at the 6 p.m. news time spots. And it will be just promoting it district-wide at that point for any available openings that we have. And so getting the word out to everyone starting next Monday. And then at that same time, we'll do another school messenger announcement specific to Lakeview and Sibley area students if spots remain at Halverson and Hawthorne. As of current enrollment as of 4 o'clock today, I listed those down below. So we have 34 out of 100 spots filled in basically about 7 days. And so we're very excited about opening it up to the remainder and getting the word out to everyone to be able to attend. And I specifically want to thank Lori, and I spent a lot of time together before July 1st in order to get the grant submitted, the application submitted, and then we were anxiously awaiting for August 1st to come around. And Dr. Funk was a huge help to us for any questions that we had and things that we were trying to work out. I also want to thank Johanna from Halverson, and then new and right into the mix was Judy at Hawthorne. So they were great to get the ball rolling and to find a space and welcome us back and expanding even. And Tammy Elfs from Special Education, in that we could kind of change up our partnership a little bit and have special education services be available in these new classrooms as well. And then Mary Jo and Kathy, definitely, I was pounding on their doors or calling them on the phone quite a bit as well, getting input with how to roll this out. And then I especially want to thank my staff. Megan Gooden is my assistant, and she is amazing. And today, she was just phone call after phone call and people after people coming in, and she's done a great job. And then you'll see Alyssa, like I said, on the TV. So she's been great to bounce ideas off of all of this. And then just my entire staff, because they've been very patiently waiting to find out which school they're teaching at, what they're teaching, who their kids are. So it's all been a very good but exciting and kind of busy time for us in pre-K.
Couple things. Jenny said to me right before the meeting, she's like, I'm doubling the size of what we're doing for the district preschool programming here. So, which is just tremendous. And I mean, she's scrambling right now. It's just, getting the grant was one thing. Now, my goodness, you've got, a month basically to, less than a month really to get it up and rolling. The other thing that we didn't mention is, we've had for the last few years, we've been purposeful as a district in providing a free early childhood program at Halverson Elementary. And we've been able to do that is we receive literacy aid from the state of Minnesota for how well our students do on their third grade MCA. Well, now that we have this funding, we are going to be able to take some of that literacy aid and we're going to be able to use it with some of our other early childhood programs in the district and reduce the cost for those people who don't qualify for this program. So again, I think it's just a real win for the district.
I think, you have a hard time saying the number that you're working with, but I think I need to remind everybody as well that study after study shows that every dollar spent at this age range is a 15 to 17-fold savings for this child, let alone the increases that we're going to see with regards to their growth and their achievement. So, just for the community standpoint, multiply that by 15 or 17, and then you'll get a real feel for exactly what that number means.
Yes.
So thank you very much for your efforts on this.
I will mention this is actually a 3-year grant as well, so we have it for 3 years.
So I actually had that conversation with Tom Meltzer, the school finance from the Department of Education last week, and I said, so we got it, what's this mean? And his comment was, in his opinion, once you're in, you're in. And so he saw it going on in perpetuity, and he was in a room full of superintendents, and I would say 3 out of 4 of those superintendents in the room didn't qualify for any of it. So it was very good.
Can I add one more plug too? I just want to say our Reading Oasis Library, that was another grant that we had applied for, is underway. It was a partnership with Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation as well as the local Kiwanis clubs. And so actually Sean Brownlow, as part of an Eagle Scout project, had 7 high schoolers in painting and getting the room prepped for the library that we're going to have as part of our pre-K program to here just down the hall. So November 1st, be ready for ribbon cutting on that new Reading Oasis library as well.
I just had one suggestion that Wednesday is the last wind down Wednesday, so that might be another good way
Yep.
if there's a booth again. for
Yep,
the
we have it
district
on
to
our
plug.
radar to actually
Okay.
plug into the ALEAs or be near them
Sounds
by
good.
the splash pad. But thank you very much for that.
And I did not see this. I didn't see these people sitting in the second row, but Judy, why don't you come on up here quick? I have not, Diane hit me up probably last spring, because I don't think I introduced you to the board till probably April. Here's Judy Vitito. She is from Northfield, is where she most recently came from. And Judy is our new principal at Hawthorne Elementary. So just wanted to say hi.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to put names and faces together. Yeah. And I'm excited to get started tomorrow. It's our first big day.
So Judy's been learning under fire, because last week I walked into her office, and Hawthorne all of our elementaries are pretty tight for space right now. So I walked into her office on Monday it was last week, and I said, well, I've got some good news and I got some bad news. I said, the good news is you're going to get a 4-year-old program in your building. and she has no classroom space for it. And by the way, your class numbers look high in one, I think it was third grade, so we're gonna add a third grade teacher. And so, okay, what am I gonna do for space? And so we were creative and we got it done, but
We had some
just,
awesome custodians and teachers move in to make it all happen. So,
yep. So, welcome.
We'll be good tenants.
yes.
I do have a couple. And so I was going to ask about the length of it. So it's 3 years that we have already and potential to go further? Is that what?
They said, from according to the head of finance for MDE, he thought it was into perpetuity. We will have it. The legislature would have to come back and say, we're going to take that away or reduce it. And I think with the governor, at least this governor, with his initiative on early childhood education, it's more likely to grow than anything at this point.
Thank you. And you might have mentioned, but could you remind us about transportation? Is that included or not?
Yes, it is. Transportation is a piece of it. That was a huge part. In order to kind of streamline it, we are having, as it rolls out district-wide, kind of the Lakeview area students paired with Hawthorne and the Sibley students paired with Halverson, just so that we can keep the costs as, best we can to be streamlined and then allow for the transportation.
Thank you. And any outreach planned for Morin Park area? A banner?
Actually, I was looking at the city picnics as well as options for going out and promoting at the city picnics. So I'm in discussions with those two. I think there's 3 coming up: Academy, Morin Park, and there's a third one too, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Frank Hall, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. And how many staff is this adding to the district?
Well, so we will have 3 teachers, 3 full teachers, 1 or 2 at Halverson, and then 1 at Hawthorne for those classrooms, along with a special education teacher that will be itinerant between both Halverson and Hawthorne. And then because we still have our programming here with 3-year-olds, and when Dr. Funk was talking about the literacy aid kind of helping promote some other programs, I had 16 students on a wait list for 3-year-olds, and so now they're able to come and add another additional class here as well. So I'll be interviewing some teachers on Wednesday. Yep. Yep, thank you.
Before Kenneth gets rolling, a couple of comments. First off, I'd like to thank the board. You're going to see some numbers here of the number of devices that we are adding, and if we add that to other devices we already have, we're talking about 2,000 or so devices that we're adding in the district. So I want to thank the board for their investment in that. With working as a team here, we're able to do this and do it the right way, without adding any additional cost to taxpayers. Between Lori's magic and Mike's guidance and your approval, we've been able to do this without a technology levy or anything like that. So I think that says a lot. And also thank Kenneth. His passion for this is infectious, as any of you have heard him speak before. So I want to thank him as well, because that's really paying dividends with his team. His building tech integration coaches, they're fired up. They're going to training on their own, and they're really excited for the school year. So I want to thank Kenneth for that as well.
Thanks. So this is going to be a quick update, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. But one thing to say in this initial title slide is that we worked this summer, last spring and this summer, to really think about how do we think about what we're doing in terms of adding devices, but think about it in a different way. So I read a blog post the other day. A lot of times we talk about one-to-one initiatives, 1 student to 1 device, and in some places that's where, at the middle school, we're this year we'll be close to that ratio. But what the blog entry was saying, sometimes we focus on the wrong one, and we end up talking a lot about the devices and not so much about the student and about the learning. And so we have renamed this initiative. It's not a Chromebook initiative. It's not a technology initiative. It's a connected learning initiative. The idea is that what we hope to do is to increase opportunities for students to engage with rich, meaningful learning experiences supported by rich, meaningful digital resources and technology that support 21st century skills. So the opportunity to communicate, collaborate, think critically, and work creatively together and for rich, meaningful, authentic audiences. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, is what's described here as kind of the idea behind connected learning, and that's sort of driving the decision making, has been all along, but we're sort of brought this together in this concept of connected learning. And we'll be learning more about that, and the community will be learning more about that this year as we roll out at Southwest Middle School. So just some of the quick thing, a little bit of history just to remind you about where we've been at Southwest in particular. So Southwest was sort of on the vanguard of this with the rollout of pilots 2 years ago. In 2014-15, we had 4 pilot classrooms in social studies with Chromebook carts in each classroom full-time. And those pilot teachers have done really fantastic work, really evolved and grown. It's been wonderful to work with those teachers and to watch their development over those years, and also to see the dividends pay off in what students are able to do and their ability to communicate and collaborate in class, and to think about the core content, the essential understandings of social studies, but buoyed by sort of these tools that they have to really engage them in meaningful ways. And then last year we expanded by adding 2 pilot carts for checkout, and we saw really strong use of these Chromebooks across the classrooms at Southwest Middle School last year. We also did survey through Bright Bites, which is an organization, educational research organization that focuses on technology integration. We did that for staff and students last fall. We learned from those results, and those helped us develop an action planning team where we could really try to target some of the areas that we needed to improve upon as we developed our plan. I can talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And we'll be doing that survey again in September, this time at Southwest in particular, targeting parents in addition to students and staff, so that we can see where we've come since last fall, and we can also continue to monitor that and measure our progress, and we hope to do the same survey again in the spring. So by then we'll have 3 data points sort of tracking our progress over 2 years at Southwest Middle School, and really district-wide as well, from grades 4 through 12 as the target for students for surveying. So the other thing we did last year is establish an action plan team. We worked to refine our coaching model to provide more targeted on-demand staff development for staff, and we did a wireless network upgrade to prepare for this number of devices at our middle school and then also at our high school for next year. So that's what we did last year, and this action planning team focused on all of these dimensions in developing a plan. So what is going to be our learning approach? How are we going to fund and sustain this program? What is our culture like? Bright Bites really helped us get an idea of that, and what do we need to do to shape culture among staff, among students, in our community to help support this kind of initiative and make it as effective as possible. What's going to be our vision and leadership? How do we involve the community and meet their needs? What technology we choose and why, and how do we support that technology on a day-to-day basis? So all the policies and procedures and tools that we need to support that, and what kind of staff development is required to make this really work for staff. So part of that, and I'm not going to go through that entire action plan with you, but just to give you a quick update of where we are is that we will have, we'll be 1-to-1 in grade 6 during the school day. We'll have carts of Chromebooks in every core academic class. So throughout the day in core academic classes, students will have access to a full class set of devices. And then we also have the 2 existing carts we already had. One of those is going to be dedicated to special education this year to support those students in a full-time basis. And then the other cart will be still available for checkout for use in special areas and special classes like health or music or art. And then in grade 7, we are going to be staggering our deployment. So we'll deploy with carts, as school starts, and as soon as we get parental permission in for internet use and the kinds of things that we're required to do. When we get that back, we'll be ready to go in grade 6 as soon as we get that permission in, so within a week we hope. And then in grade 7, our goal is to have a deployment date of September 15th. And we have 295 devices currently. Our enrollment is up in grade 7, so 295 students, 295 devices enrolled and ready to go already, but we just want to make sure we've done our part to educate families, to answer any unanswered questions, to work through any last-minute details of our plan as we get feedback from the community and from teachers, and that we're going to be doing some presentations on Parent Orientation Week next week. So we're trying to do all the things we can do to create a smooth deployment and rollout, since this is the first building where we're trying a one-to-one program where students will be issued devices for the school year. So we're giving ourselves time to do it well. But by September 15th, we'll be fully deployed. So this is a throwaway slide, I guess, but this is the device that we have purchased this year. We chose a Chromebook this year that is noted for its durability. We're also providing a hard case for students. The idea being that we want to create a device that's going to be durable for 4 years, that if students drop it or something, that we stand a really strong likelihood of not having any damage and being able to keep right on working. So this is a military spec rated durability on this device, and it's also designed to be very easy and quick to repair. So quick turnaround. If we do have incidents of damage, we can quickly repair it and get it back out to students as quickly as possible to support their learning. So what are we doing to support students and family? Well, we're going to have a full-time help desk at Southwest Media Center during the school day. One of our technicians has taken on the role of mobile device specialist, so he'll be based at Southwest and support that help desk and also support mobile devices district-wide. We're checking all the boxes and should come through by the time we deploy to be certified for on-site warranty repair for our devices, so we don't have to send devices off. We'll be able to do all our repairs on site and get them right back out. We have someone that's going to be at the media center managing the help desk and taking in devices and answering questions and managing that process. And we also will have loaner devices available, so if a device does need to be repaired, students will be able to have a device they can use during the school day while it's being repaired, and that kind of thing. We also are we have devices yet, but we're working on the details of a plan to be able to check out devices too for students in grade 6 that don't have a device, but if they needed to take a device home, we have devices set aside for that purpose, and we'll be working with the media specialists to get that finalized in the coming days. Been working on a website that we will be publishing before next week, Parent Orientation Night, that'll have resources for parents, including information about the program, lessons on online safety to share, and advice to talk with students about online safety, frequently asked questions for the device, and then for the whole program, all the details will be there. And they'll be able to submit their questions as well. And then if there's questions that we haven't anticipated, we'll have an opportunity to answer those as a technology and administrative team, and then answer those questions on the frequently asked questions page, so we can benefit from those all together collectively and address any concerns. So those are the pieces we're working on. Also, the digital citizenship course last year that Neil Chalmers taught for grade 6 has been expanded to a semester-long course this year, and all 6th graders will have this course. Current 7th graders got this course last year, and he's really done a fantastic job in helping develop a curriculum that really asks students to think critically about online safety, privacy, cyberbullying, their role in operating in this connected world, and our role and responsibility in helping to fulfill our role and responsibility in helping to educate students in how to do that appropriately. And he's done a really great job, and has got a really solid plan. I talked with him this week, and he's got a really solid plan for getting us started this semester. So hitting the things that we need to hit first to be ready to give those devices out on September 15th. So yeah, parent orientation is next Tuesday, and I'll be there all day to answer parent questions and to support that as they come in, and then I'll be providing presentations to parents at 2 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6 p.m., giving an overview of the program and our goals there, and working with Steve Kovach on that. So we'll tag team on that presentation. And so I feel very confident that we'll have to do that. And based on what we hear on that night, we may offer additional parent nights for 7th grade parents prior to deployment in early September. So the idea is we see what our involvement is like and what the questions are on the 23rd, and then we make our follow-up plans based on that. But we've already discussed those opportunities. So what about supporting staff? So we mentioned the building tech integration coaches. Andrew Gustafson has been a coach, building tech integration coach for 2 years, and before that, building technology coordinator at Southwest. So he's got experience and knows the staff very well. He's a full-time teacher who earns a coach's stipend to support technology integration in the building and does a really nice job with that and has good working relationships with all the staff at Southwest. And then this fall, I will be working from Southwest Middle School every Wednesday to support PLC groups when they work in the mornings, and then throughout the day for drop-in support and sessions, going in and doing model teaching, co-teaching to support technology integration for staff on demand. And then we experimented, had a hugely successful experiment district-wide in June with participant-led staff development. So we heard in the thought exchange that staff input was important. And so this is a model of staff development where staff really determine what happens on the day and staff lead what happens on the day with the support of administration. And I think it went really well in June. We got very positive feedback from all the staff in all 3 buildings. We were able to invite those that had been teaching in the pilot to really share their successes and challenges with the rest of the staff. And we're repeating that again in a smaller scale next week, or this week, tomorrow. Today's Monday. Wednesday morning with Southwest staff. And then we're going to be looking forward to really focusing on technology integration with middle school teachers at all our staff development days this year, and keeping focused on what those needs are and then trying to address those needs as they emerge. And we also have a tech integration website that has a full catalog of on-demand resources and training to support teachers as they learn to use new applications and new tools and new teaching and learning strategies for the connecting learning environment. And so they can really access those at any time. And this summer, I already know we had several staff that we developed a lot of these resources in June and used them in June on their June Staff Development Day, and then made them available for staff all summer to be able to do PD in your PJs or from your patio, whichever, pick your P, I guess. And so we had people all summer that were engaging with these resources and working through them themselves. And we also had a core team of teachers who volunteered, who were interested and attended training with other teachers from around the state in St. Paul in June related to Google Apps for Education and Chromebooks and in the classroom. And so I'm really pleased with that. So those are the pieces I really want to mention. I already mentioned we'll be using Brightbyte survey to measure our progress. And you've seen this slide from me before, but I think it's a good quote again to remind ourselves about from John Dewey, that if we teach students the way as we taught yesterday, today's students the way we taught yesterday, as we rob them of tomorrow. The idea that we want to continue to, just as our new mission statement says, we want to focus on growth for students, for staff, and for our community. And to do that, we're providing the tools and the resources to support that and help make that a reality.
Thank you. So, so there's a lifetime of about 4 years, and it's heavy duty, but there's a warranty as well. How many years do we have the warranty? What kind of things does that cover if it falls on the floor?
Yep. So we're talking about a device that's total replacement cost is $195. So that's one of the reasons why we can say, hey, this is a sustainable program. But yes, it's a typical 1-year warranty. It doesn't cover accidental damage. We have looked at, and we're not doing it this year because of the scale. We don't know if we need to. We're going to try to track. Based on our pilots, we've had almost no damage in our pilots since we started running our pilots. So now we're going to try to see, okay, what does this look like this year? We've got a reserve to help, support this. We're also going to be, we're looking at investigating, got to finalize this week if we want to move forward with this, but we're going to try to provide an option for parents who want to purchase insurance to support like any accidental damage. There's like a policy, it's like a $19 premium, and it'll cover accidental damage and theft and a lot of other things. It's an option. It's a third-party insurance. It wouldn't be through us, but it would be something that they could do. But in terms, we're giving ourselves flexibility as we think about how do we want to manage these costs, and what, when it comes to damage and those kinds of things. We don't anticipate it being an issue. But where it is an issue, we have a plan in place. Parents will be fully informed for that. With next on orientation, they'll have an opportunity to sign that like that. In the case of damage, families may be held responsible for some of the damage. That's on a case-by-case basis, working with the administrator, investigating the incident. But again, I think we're going to have minimal, based on what we're hearing from other districts that use Chromebooks, it's going to be a very minimal issue for us.
Thank you. And for loaners, will there be a hotspot option for Wi-Fi?
So that's the good question. We have a quote in place. We're ready to go with it. We're holding a little bit, and maybe a little bit delayed on that because we learned that there's $500,000 in state grant funding for programs like this that we don't yet, there's been no guidance that passed at the end of the term, the summer. There's been no guidance from the State Department of Education about how to apply for those dollars. So we put a little pause on that just so we can take advantage of that when we learn how to apply for those dollars, because we think that we have a good chance of qualifying based on the requirements outlined by the legislature.
Thank you. And for our sub-teachers, are they pretty much able to walk into a room and be able to manage the technology aspect of?
Well, that's one thing we probably need to do to have a plan in place to really try to address training for subs. I think that one of the advantages of something like this is that even if a teacher's not in the building, they can create resources, digital resources that allow them to have a presence in the room when they're not in the room. So one of the things our pilot teachers found out is using Google Classroom, which is the tool they were using in our middle school to manage workflow for students. They can, from anywhere, from their phone, from wherever, they can push assignments, and students can follow instructions, and they can work through assignments on their own. They can turn things in digitally, and so the management of it is pretty minimal if the teachers thought ahead, right, and planned for it. So it means that for a sub, there's really not a lot to know beyond the basic classroom management rules that the teacher has and the expectations that the teacher lays out. The students should be able to work pretty independently and productively because of these resources in the classroom that we have.
Thank you. And my last question has to do with the dollar figures. So I'm wondering what amount of funding is going into the changes for this year? And my question kind of revolves around we saw one of I think the highest concern from the community was class sizes. So from a technology standpoint, how much are we putting into technology this year? How much, maybe another one of our administrators could answer, how much would it cost to add a classroom? And from a technology standpoint, what's your take on that issue?
On the financial end, Lori would probably be better, but since I also wear the HR hat, I can tell you when we're looking at staffing, our staffing decisions as far as class sizes, technology hasn't been a factor in making those decisions. We have, excuse me, we have targets, we have class size maximums that we have set, and that's what drives the decision making. With other factors, how many kids are really in the classroom all day versus in a self-contained, that sort of thing. So generally speaking, from the HR side, the staffing side, technology costs haven't been a factor in setting those, but as far as the amount, that would be a Lori question.
I was just working on the piece of the technology budget as far as reviewing it, and so I have some figures, I believe, off the top of my head. And the technology purchase for such things as Chromebooks, the allotment we had this year is $300,000, and that includes Chromebooks as well as we have some upgrades that we've applied for E-rate that will be greatly discounted, and so what we're able to achieve with that $300,000 budget is quite amazing. But also through the budgeting process, what I have always focused on is finding ways to assign funds to support such technology, therefore freeing up as much of our dollars as possible to support the appropriate staffing we need. And so staffing is always our priority, and we find ways to allocate dollars for the technology.
What would be the cost of adding a classroom, basically, generally, I guess?
I'm sorry, can you clarify what you mean as far as that
If we were
classroom
to,
for
I
our?
think we just added a third grade at Sibley. How much would something like that happen if we were to add an extra class to alleviate student crowding?
So you're asking what the cost of the teacher is?
And I don't know if there are any other things other than space that would come into that.
There's a cost, but there's also a funding mechanism that's associated with that. So as our student numbers go up, we receive more state aid from the government, which then helps pay for the teacher if new curriculum is necessary. So those are the factors that we weigh when we're looking at staffing models. And Lori, help me on this. Are the capital dollars are fenced separately than general staffing dollars? You want to talk through that process quick?
Yes, through the general ed formula, it provides a variety of categorical funding streams. So the main basic formula is for the purpose of providing dollars for staffing, things like energy, like we heard today, and supplies and so forth. Then other categorical areas are operating capital, there's a dollar amount per ADM. Other such things as gifted and talented, compensatory is part of that categorical. And then such things as learning development, which is for class size reduction. So basically, when we're working on our staffing, a great way to analyze our enrollment, we look at the class size per grade level, and then with the funding streams of compensatory and learning development, as well as just the additional general ed revenue we receive as our enrollment increases, all those elements come together to provide additional dollars when we need to add additional staff due to class size.
Thank you. And I guess my point of direction isn't if our population actually grows, but if we had our stable population and wanted to decrease class sizes. So maybe that's a discussion for another time, but I guess what would your answer be as technology people to our people who are saying we need smaller class sizes? Are there any positives that that the technology will help as far as helping those kids learn or have more time individualized?
Yeah, I think definitely as we transition to this connected learning environment, and as we start to make informed decisions about how best to use these resources, and then staff grow in their own implementation and learning of these, we're going to see more opportunities to individualize and personalize instruction for students, because it becomes differentiation, true differentiation of education and instruction for students is very difficult to manage over a long period of time. And there are a number of tools that we have in place where we do that now, but the ability to add devices for students means that we can approach, we have new tools to be able to approach that problem and make it easier to manage and able to sustain over a longer term. So you can imagine, for example, just by giving a device to a student that he or she can take home, there's opportunities there for them to begin to have more voice and choice in what they're learning, and then tools and resources to have access to support both within the classroom and outside of the classroom on an ongoing basis, 24/7, so not limited to that 50-minute class period in a middle school, but over a longer term. Lines of communication are open. They may be producing work for real audiences where they can get feedback from people in the field they're interested in. And so all of these are opportunities for, even in a larger class size, for us to be able to provide more voice and choice for students in class, which I think is really positive, regardless of the class size. I mean, I guess from my opinion, from my point of view, I think class size, obviously we would want to have as small class size as we could afford. But I think that adding these devices is a way to do better given the conditions that we have in terms of meeting individual student needs.
Thank you.
Sorry. Other questions, or it's a good question. Can I try to rephrase that, Jill? 'Cause I think what I'm hearing is, if we have $300,000 and we have class sizes of X, are we better to hire more teachers and have smaller class sizes but no Chromebooks, or spend the $300,000 and have bigger class sizes with Chromebooks? And how would you decide that? And who, where does that come from, and what kind of data do you need? I mean, I think that's a good study session. Is that kind of what you're saying? So, and I think your answer is perfect. I mean, you explained it well, but I think that might be something we could talk about at a study session, as far as technology versus staff, and what's the right ratio, and how can the dollars even be shifted, which I don't know if they can. There's some buckets that they have to be spent in, and you can't move money back and forth. So, all right. Other questions?
I think one of the things that I'm passionate about in a general sense is that we saw from Steve Lund the savings that we've got in energy given his work over time, and some of that's due to increased efficiencies. And I think that, for example, I think that giving staff and students a mobile device where we can think more flexibly about classroom space. So, for example, right now we have a large lab capacity in every building to support teaching on a daily basis, but also because we have to be able to test students, right, online, and we have to do it as efficiently as possible. And even given those conditions, testing is a long, drawn-out process. But if we can start to think about adding mobile devices and the ability to test on those devices, there's efficiencies to be gained there, right? We might have more class space if we're able to reduce lab size over time. We might be able to test in a smaller window, which gives more instructional time because we have more devices to test on. So there's opportunities here to gain savings by investing here, to gain savings that could be applied elsewhere. So.
So I could have 58 slides tonight, but the soup said no. So we're here to show you some of the key points that I felt would be good to share publicly about the Minnesota Student Survey. If we can go to the next slide. Oh, it's right here. I could go to the next slide. Sorry. So this was administered early this spring. It is an interagency team, Minnesota Department of Education, Department of Human Services, Health, and Public Health. I'd like to thank the 4 elementary principals who administered this at the 5th grade, and to Nikki Sievertson, who administered the 8th, 9th, and 11th at the high school. It's an anonymous survey, and it is online. You can see the number of our students that took this, 221, and yes, parents could opt their students out of this. They were informed at the beginning of the school year last year that the survey was coming, and then again close to the survey time, and they also could preview the survey prior to taking it. So 221 5th graders, and there was approximately 270 at the time, 226 8th graders, 202 9th graders out of 266, and 160 11th graders. The results have been shared with Lana Howe, who is with our Freeborn County Partners in Prevention. I think she's in the audience, gimping around back there for some reason. And she is pulling some pieces for us to do the ACEs data, and we're going to hopefully meet on Friday sometime when Tom Cody is here to talk about some of the resources she has to compare the 2013 data with 2016. And the raw data will be available from MDE in September. We got the data early because our buildings finished it before the end of May. So. And those are the subject areas. So I know this is kind of hard to read, but basically at the top there, this describes the students' self-report about their adults that they live with. And if you look across, it's around, give or take, 50%. Then they can identify adoptive parents, mother, father. And of course, the concerning one is down at the very bottom, a small percentage of our students who live with no adults. But again, this is self-reported. The next slide talks about during the past 12 months, have you stayed in a shelter or somewhere not intended as a place to live? And you can see that some of our students in that second row, yes, with my parents, and the third row, yes, on my own, without any adult family members. So we're really looking, for instance, at our 8th grade, anywhere between around 11 and 17% of our students at some point live in a shelter. Have any of your parents or guardians ever been in jail or prison? And if you look across the bottom, yes, I have had a parent or guardian in jail or prison, and we're sitting right around 20% on there in the past. And I think that's, we don't have any details on that, so we don't know if it was an overnight event or long-term, but I think that as we talk about ACEs and the impact of that on our students, I think that's good information to talk with staff about. And I also did share this information with our high school social workers, so they have had this for a couple weeks. The next piece is we talk about students' emotional well-being and distress. And again, self-identified, have you been bothered over the last 2 weeks by little interest or pleasure in doing anything? And you can see across the top, not at all, ranges anywhere between 34% and a high of 57%, but you can see kind of consistently, kids have been bothered by little interest or pleasure in doing things on average, and then the bottom one, over the last 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by feeling down, depressed, or hopeless? There is no description of, what that means other than the student's interpretation. But of course, concerning at the very bottom is those that indicate, yes, nearly every day. And as I've looked at these results many times over the last couple of weeks, our 8th and 9th grade females are high in percentages on some of these, and I think that's a concern of some of our high school staff as well. The next one is feelings about school. How often do you care about doing well in school? If you look at the top 2 rows, I think that is an indication that our students like coming to school, and most of the time, if not all of the time, they care about doing well in school. I think that is an important piece where we have, really we're upwards of 90%. So if we look at some of the research out there, kids want to do well. They come to school and they want to do well. Then, of course, realistically, how often do you go to class unprepared? If you look at some of the time, those numbers are in the 30-40%. So our students, I'm not looking at you, Justine, but our students do identify that, yeah, they do come to class unprepared. And how often do you pay attention in class? You can see that our kids are right in there almost most of the time. Right across the board there. But those stats at the top, they want to be in school. The next one, how much do you agree or disagree with the following? Overall, adults at my schools treat students fairly. It's interesting to look from 5th grade, the strongly agree and agree, if you add those together. It's fairly consistent across. The numbers of strongly agree go down. And I could share this information with you as well, to about 25% in the 11th graders, but again, if you add those top 2 together. Adults at my school listen to the students, again, strongly agree and agree bring us into about the 70% range, but we do have some disagree and strongly disagree. This one is interesting. The school rules are fair. You'll see when you look across disagree, it goes from about 8 to 10% up to about 30%. The older our students get, possibly the less they think the rules are fair. Most teachers at my school are interested in me as a person, and you'll see, again, you look at strongly agree and agree, you'll see we go around 70% and then down as low as 60%. But if you look at that row that says disagree, it really is an indication that maybe we need to talk more about that personal relationship with students and to be interested in the students as a person. So information there. 8 is perceptions of safety. Again, I think if we relate this to the previous survey, Thought Exchange, and we talk about what are parents' concerns about the school, also what do students report, how much do you agree or disagree? I feel safe going to and from school. You'll see strongly and agree kind of add up to around 90%. And then we look, I feel safe at school. Again, we're around 80 to 90%, but we do have a percentage of students who disagree or strongly disagree with feeling safe at school. The next one is being bullied for specific reasons, and it's my understanding that the survey did not specify the definition that's in most school districts' policies about bullying, so they're kind of talking about just a general concept of being bullied. So we talked about this a little bit this morning at the transgender meeting, but where students feel harassed or bullied for any reason, this breaks it out by race or ethnicity, and you'll see across the board there we're 90% or right around 90% or higher, never, and then adding in once or twice, again, over the last 30 days. For religion, again, you'll see between 90 and 98%, never harassed. Your gender, between 87%, 85%, and then up to 99 if 96%. So kids aren't feeling bullied because of those three things. And this is the piece we talked about this morning. Do you feel bullied by your gender expression? And you'll see that our 9th grade females, we have some concerns there, and our 11th grade females about their expression. It also indicates your style, dress, or the way you walk or talk. And this is a new question this year, so I think that's interesting information to think about. This next one is being bullied, again, for specific reasons, because you're gay, lesbian, or bisexual, or someone thought you were. You'll see that students report never very high that they're not being bullied for that reason. So I think that talks to the discussion and hopefully tolerance in our community. A physical or mental disability, again, above 9%. But if you look at the last two under your size and weight, you'll see once or twice comes up right around 15 to 18%. And then your physical appearance, again, that's where we're seeing some reports a little bit higher of kids being bullied. So I'm slowing down here. So the next one, I don't know if mine isn't working. Mine isn't. Okay, so the next one is, have other students in the schools pushed, shoved, slapped, hit, or kicked you when they weren't kidding around? You can see that, again, our 5th and 8th grade numbers are in the 70s to 80s, and then as you go to 9th and 11th grade, we're around 90% that it never happens, but we do have it happening once or twice in the last 30 days, and then the percentages diminish. Threaten to beat you up, those numbers are again in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then spread mean rumors or lies about you. That is one we often hear about for disciplinary reasons, is that rumor mill. Commentary. Sexual jokes or comments, you'll see in the 70s and 80s. One that students do report more is excluded you from friends, other students, or activities. So these two tables basically talk about students self-identifying for themselves. And then the next table really talks about, have they engaged in this behavior? And so I think the one that's most interesting is as we look at that one, we're excluded you from friends or other students. And then seeing what students self-report. During the last 30 days, how many times have you pushed, shove? And you'll see that they almost all report never. And so threaten someone, they seem some to be reporting. And as we look at this is 8th, 9th, and 11th graders at the high school. So you don't know if we have seniors or 10th graders. We don't survey them. But interesting, spread mean rumors or lies. You'll see that students do report that they engage in that activity. So making sexual comments, and then excluded someone from friends or other students or activities. And you'll see students do admit to once or twice a week, engaging in that behavior. This is what they've done here is they've summarized several answers into one table. So if we look at the use of, so if we think about thought exchange where community members have expressed concerns there as well as in other places about use of tobacco and other drugs, this is what students self-report. Use of conventional tobacco products, you'll see that a high percentage in the 90s of students say no, they are not using conventional tobacco. But if you see any use of other tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, et cetera, you'll see that we do have 13 to 23% of our students reporting yes. Frequent binge drinking in the past year, typically drank 5 or more drinks at a time. You'll see that our numbers on no are very high, and yes in the 1, 2, 3, 4%. Use alcohol and other drug use during the past year, including tobacco. No to alcohol or marijuana during the past year. You'll see our numbers are in the 60s. Used only alcohol, 7 to 22%. Used alcohol and marijuana, 9%, give or take. And used marijuana or other drugs but not alcohol, 7 to 2%. Used alcohol and marijuana or other drugs in the past year. So we definitely have students, and this question was not asked to 5th graders, so we're talking 8th, 9th, and 11th graders. There is a different 5th grade question that I didn't include on here, but how often do you use each of the following? And you'll see some numbers high in the 90s for tobacco. Alcohol, we get in the never column a little less. They've tried it once or twice, it seems to be higher. And marijuana. And so this is what students report. So these first two tables are what students report. And the second two tables are what they perceive. And so if you look under marijuana, they are saying, for instance, in the 50 to 80 range, they've never tried it, and 16 to 17% try it once or twice. And then then here is, how often do you think most students in your school use these? And whereas tobacco here, they self-report never in the 90s, they perceive other students are using it once a week, twice a week, they have much higher percentage for their perceptions of what other students are doing. So these two tables, interesting, are, and I'm excited to see what Lana can do with this data to make it. So what students perceive, we talk about perception as reality, well, what they're perceiving is not what they reported in the first slide. So, is that my last one? I guess so. So 58 tables of information. As I said, we're excited about working with Lana and some data friends of hers to pull this apart and compare it to the 13 data. It isn't 100% comparable because of new questions being asked and new wording. And so she's kind of talked about, you know, what do you want? How can we do this? How can we pull the ACEs questions out, which she's much more familiar with than I am. And then also talking with our high school social workers have looked at this to talk about, okay, so we have this data, now what? And Jenny Broughton has, we've talked about a couple of things and what that would mean for our high school students moving forward. So I can send you the PDF if you want. It's 60 pages. Okay, and then the raw data will be available on MDE's website. So,
Kathy, what trends have you noticed, or I know you're going to pull
Yeah.
out compared to last time, but are there any trends that you notice over time or even in comparison with other areas of the state?
I probably can't answer that, but I think back to some of the data we saw at some of the presentations Lana and Dr. Bruner did this spring. And I think it's encouraging for the reduction in the use of tobacco. I don't think it's encouraging in the increase of the use of e-cigarettes and the perception that those are safer. But I am going to rely on Lana for that expertise. I don't really have that, but yeah, so is that enough data for tonight, I think? All right, anything else? Okay.
Okay, we're gonna share. It's on. It's on. Yep, little red light. Thank you. I'm Chris Quisley. I'm your math specialist for the district, and I'm joined, as you all probably know, Karen Hendrickson, third grade teacher at Hawthorne. And we're here to talk about the rollout. We're gonna start our second year of our K-5 math selection that we chose. And so we'll just get right with it. I want to start with this quote by Jo Boaler, who's one of the leading math minds of our time. She's a professor at Stanford. She comes from England. So I'll give you just a moment or so to read that. The teacher in me is glancing around just to see eye contact when you're done. You know, I won't have you do the number talks and have the thumb up or anything like that, that we promote definitely. And Karen, feel free to jump in anytime. But really, this is where we're at in Albert Lea, is that changing the mindset of our students that you saw on that first slide with Math I Can. No longer is it acceptable in any nation, especially the United States, to talk about, oh, I don't have a math mind, oh, my parents weren't good at math, oh, that's no longer acceptable. With Math I Can. There are many of our careers, we know any career needs math, and so it's that mindset that helps us equal to success. Would you mind passing this out to everybody? I'm good. I'm walking around. All right. Thank you, my dear. One of the things that Professor Boaler, as well as the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, as well as the Minnesota Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and other states believe fully in, is that the students' beliefs do equal their success. And so that if every child can learn math to the highest level, that doesn't mean that every child learns at the same level. As a mother of a talented and gifted student, as well as a special ed student, I want both of our daughters to achieve at high levels. And I know those levels are different, but I know both will graduate with the highest level that they can. And I think that's one of the things that within our new text and our views on math in the district that we're taking. The biggest one probably, though, is that mistakes are valuable. The research shows that if we have our mistakes and we learn from our mistakes and we're given feedback from our peers, which brings in our whole initiative that we started when I started 2 years ago about Math Talk, and putting those in place, about how we learn from each other, and that through those strategies and hands-on is so important. Anything you want to jump in?
We just talked about how it's a productive struggle, that's what we're talking about. We want kids to have to work it through and maybe think something through and try another way and not give up.
With definitely on that, with not giving up, that knowing that math is about learning, not performing. That what we learn, we start the foundation in our, thank goodness, preschool, and keep going all the way to 16 plus, that we never stop that learning. And every piece of math, it's no longer I'm in the 3rd grade, I'm only going to learn this. Math's a web, and so we now are understanding more about math, about how everything connects together. And so changing the way, and Karen can jump in here, about, traditionally, we teach this unit at this time, we teach this unit in math at this time, we teach this unit in math at this time. When we adopted this new text, we kind of upset the apple cart a little bit, especially in 3rd grade. And we started with multiplication right away, day one. Do you want to?
Yeah, and I've been teaching 3rd grade for a really long time, but not long enough that I should be switched around. Nope. I've done that. But as long as I was teaching 3rd grade, multiplication came sometime generally after Christmas, and we started at the beginning of the year, and it is different in that they don't necessarily have all of those things that you think they need as a prerequisite, but they learn them so quickly, and they all become so much more understanding of what they're doing. And I think at the end, I had more kids who understood what multiplication meant and what division meant, and that they knew they could get an answer. They found a way to get an answer rather than just thinking I'm going to memorize the facts. And I think that's a really key part of what we're trying to do with this.
And that takes us to our next slide, because when we started this process, when I was hired, we had a math team going. It was about 40-some people, about one person from every grade level, K-5, plus administrators, plus special ed teachers, plus interventionists. And we sat down and we decided, okay, what are our key things? And at that time, or in last year, I came to you and we talked about these practice standards from the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. And you get to walk again. And at that time, I gave you a bookmark as well, but I think it's so important, I want to make sure you have it again, because it gets to what Karen talked about with the persistence and that productive struggle, that students are attending to precision, they're paying attention. When they're learning their multiplication facts, it's no longer of how fast can I do it? Can I get my name up on a wall of success? Because we know a wall of success doesn't put in a person's heart, getting back to what was talked about earlier about the emotional part of the student, the social part of a student. Sometimes our walls of success can also be a detrimental piece. So thinking about, that we all can persevere, we all can attend to precision and learning those math facts, but it's not a speed. It's being efficient, it's being effective, and it's knowing when to use the strategies at the right time. With that, and I forgot to tell Heidi that I had a little video here. I don't know if it'll play or not. So, do you want to just, what we've done here is we've done number talks, and this is talking about with Kenneth with one of our technology pieces. This is one of our first graders.
I'll be talking about 19 plus 19. So I know that 10 plus 10 equals 20, and 9 plus 9 equals 18. And then I added these two in the 10 make 30. So 30 plus 8 equals 38. 38 is the answer.
This is just a small snippet, and again, we're using that seesaw technology on the iPads. First graders, kindergartners, all the grades are able to, teachers are able to differentiate out and have students and get to those critical questions 3 and 4. What do my students already know? What do they need to know? And get to that. And then when it comes back, when you think about what that little one wrote there, they're pretty proud. They made sure you knew that 38 right there and circled it. But if you're thinking about your bookmark here, what got me and what puts the hair on my arms to stand up is that child had some number sense. In that they said, and I add these two numbers, the tens. That's huge in the math world. You want to talk about paying it forward, as you did earlier, paying it forward. Huge that they recognize that that's 2 tens and 1 10, and that makes 3 tens instead of it's 2 and 1. Because when we talk, and that's with teachers and students and parents, when we talk that it's not 2 and 1 is 3, we're setting our students up with a misconception. And so by starting with this text and starting with Math Talks, we're building the right things at the right time so that our students are more confident and they're willing to try and they don't give up as much. There's less of make me. You know, there's still make me. I mean, they are children and, you know, I have 2. I get it. But they understand productive struggle is a good thing because throughout life, there's going to be times when I just don't know the answer, and so how do I go about? Karen, any other excitement things you want to share?
Well, I just thought it was really exciting that this was 1 year in the program, and we know that next year supposedly should be easier, but we also know that we're going to do the exact same thing in 3rd grade that we did this past year, which is we're going to start with multiplication and they don't know anything about it. And so it is still going to be a little bit of a trick for us to get them there, but we know it works. What I thought was so wonderful is to see those kids when they were doing some high stakes testing, they stuck with it. They believed they had a way to get an answer, and we stuck pretty much to what the curriculum was and what Chris told us. You're going to hang in there.
Hang in there, guys.
And we
Hang in
did,
there.
and we were pretty pleased with the results.
Yep, and I couldn't be prouder of the staff and the support that I have, you know, across the board, that, you know, we're moving in the right direction with that growth mindset that we've heard a lot about today, and I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to let me gloat about all our success. Oh, sorry. I wanted to skedaddle. Yep. Thank you.
We have no PowerPoint. We don't have any. It's right off our cuffs.
Here you go, big guy.
Oh, I go first. And we're secondary programs talking about, first off, we don't, other than the acceptable use policy, some various changes, a few changes that we're doing with that with our Chromebook rollout. No major changes to our handbook. I don't know if you're aware, we actually put our handbook in our student planners, which is another thing that this year we'll probably be revisiting, whether or not we'll be using planners in the future with the use of the Chromebooks and the expansion of that. But this is the organizational tool that we use, so that's where we put our handbook. Other changes at Southwest, you heard a lot about the Chromebook, the Connected Learning Initiative that we're excited about. Couple of changes that Kenneth also mentioned with the moving of art to 7th grade and expanding our digital citizenship in 6th grade. we're really excited about that, and I think it's just a vital chunk of skills that those students will be getting, and hopefully looking in the future to expand that, and because he has lots of curriculum that he can use with that. So I don't think that's about all I have for right now.
Minor changes and things, no big changes. Kenneth helped us clean up some paperwork to make it easier on parents, so one form instead of 3 or 4. But our policies are put online. First day back to school, we give students a highlight of things, and then they're available. We'll send out through School Reach to parents. There's PDFs and things like that. Big exciting thing is next Tuesday, I just gotta think what day we're on, because it seems like different days. We're having our 8th graders come and spending a day at the high school, just the 8th graders. So in the morning, Kevin Gentz and Mindy Kruger, 2 of our teachers, with Link Crew members, which Justine is one of them, will meet with the 8th graders at 8 o'clock when they come on the bus. They'll get together with them, help them sort their things, the lockers maybe if they need that, then go in the gym and different classrooms and work to build these relationships with some upperclassmen. They'll do that till about 11:45. Then one of the big scary things for some reason is going through the lunch line at the high school. So Link Crew's gonna go with their little buddies and go through lunch line. And then after lunch, we're going to run through a mini schedule with the 8th graders. So they can once again, because tomorrow night we have 8th grade orientation, but once again, the kids will get to see their teacher, where the rooms are, get through that, and then the next day when everyone shows up, hopefully it takes a little edge off, because that's the #1 concern we hear from parents coming to the high schools. Oh, my 8th grader's gonna, monsters at the high school, everything's horrible, those kinds of things. So that's a big thing for us. October 6th, we have the Minnesota Supreme Court doing a trial at the Albert Lea High School. It'll involve our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders mostly due to the size and requirements, but they'll actually do a live trial at the high school, so that's kind of exciting. We're also participating in a statewide election event through the Secretary of State, I believe it is. So we're getting more stuff on that. So we got a lot of things going on. Not a lot of new things added. We added a lot the last couple of years. We need to refine those and continue to improve them. So that's what I have from the high school. Questions you might have of us? Yep, so it's a Supreme Court case that the Minnesota Supreme Court has vetted a little bit to make sure it's high school appropriate. Randy Kerr is a member of the Governor's Selection Committee for Justices, so I believe Randy had some help getting this to come to Albert Lea. We've met 3 times already, twice with a Supreme Court Justice and then their staff. The Bar Association's been very helpful, so we'll have members of the Bar Association coming in a couple days before the event to help students understand what's going to happen. And then we'll do it in our auditorium. The justices sit up on stage. Everybody, just like a live courtroom. And I know they're working with the media, the court themselves, of what can be recorded and what can't. So they're looking at those possibilities. So it should be a good experience for our students. There was no question when I got the call, or I relayed to Dr. Funk that we were doing it. It's a great experience for our students, and so Randy's been very helpful helping us with this, and the Supreme Court staff. So.
You heard a lot about technology tonight, so this is an opportune time for us to look at this acceptable use policy. We looked at MSBA's suggested changes from the last time that we did that, and we kept in mind the idea that we are going to have students one-to-one, 2 grades this year and next year at the high school. So just some minor changes to keep up with some of the other things that have, policy-wise, have changed. The first one, if you scroll to on page 81, you'll see 10 at the top, Heidi. I'll keep scrolling. You're on, yeah, keep going. should be there. Okay, number 10, it just references our bullying policy that, if you remember, our bullying policy changed last year based upon state statute. So therefore, number 10 is an addition because we are always concerned about that cyberbullying. So that's referenced here in the policy as an update. Going to the next page, Heidi. Right there, that's good. C, when we start talking about students using Chromebooks, and along with that, one thing that we didn't mention is that in order to use Google Classroom effectively to its fullest, students will have a student email, and that'll be a Gmail account. One of the things we can do there is we can fence as to how that email account can be used. We can set the settings to allow only inter-domain email, so in other words, to the teacher or to another student. Anyway, there's settings there, so C, you'll see, talks about narrowly tailoring the filtering, and that would also include websites, of course, but to not discriminate based upon viewpoint. So that's something that is a suggested change as well. And then also E references that appropriate online behavior. And we talked a lot about awareness and response. You heard Kenneth talk about that. We're expanding that in the middle school. And also as we roll out carts, teachers also are, there's some discussion on proper use of the technology at every level. Down farther on that page, we added one word in D. And that's, if you see it says, it used to say, the contents of the child's files, period, in the first sentence, and we added "and email files" because, again, students 6, 7 will have Gmail accounts, and then that would expand to the high school next year. And then you can go 2 pages, Heidi, to parents' responsibilities, so down to that, yep, bottom of that page. Number 3 is an addition that they recommended, a notification that parents have the option to request alternative educational activities not requiring internet access and the material to exercise this option. In the event that there'd be some reason or rationale for not using the Chromebook, we would need to give them an alternate activity. And then finally, the last thing is on the implementation part, D. This is another thing that they suggested change, and that's based upon how fast all this technology develops, that the board should review this annually. Instead of, the last time was a few years ago. It's something that we should be looking at sort of on an ongoing basis as technology changes and technologies change. So those are the recommended changes. Yeah, it's a review of the policy. It's not, that's my understanding, is if it's a policy already and there's minor changes in that, you can do that with a one-time vote as opposed to readings for a new policy.
Some questions. I believe at the high school, students can still have cell phones all day, right? So there is a filter then on the Wi-Fi, but what about cellular data that they can get on their phone? Any kind of filtering, or they're kind of free to access whatever they can?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And then on our loaner devices that are checked out from the school and maybe they're using their Wi-Fi at home, is there any filtering capability on the device itself, or are they able to access?
And Kenneth or Mark Jensen could give you the specifics on that, but we can whitelist or blacklist websites based upon the Google account that they're assigned to. Is that an accurate way of looking at it, Kenneth?
Yeah, I would just add that for our Chromebooks at middle school this year, they will carry, regardless of what Wi-Fi they're on, they'll come back through our filter. So the same filter that devices have on school campus will have on any Wi-Fi network.
Great, thank you. And How many administrators, internet administrators do we have right now in the district, and who would they be?
For the network itself, the functional network, Mark Jensen, and he is the network administrator. As far as on the Google side, who has access to the Google administrative site, Kenneth, Mark Jensen, and Dan Halverson, who's our mobile device specialist. He used to be a regular tech guy, and he's moved over to that.
And how about accessing emails, things like that? I know in number 5, I don't know which section it's in, says that emails can't be accessed without the owner's permission. Who has permission to access emails?
Mark
of
Jensen
employees?
does all of that.
And
Yep.
he's the only individual in the district?
Correct.
Okay. And how about, what's the policy, if any, or procedure? We're kind of into new things now with internet and social media, things like that. So if there's an account that's linked to the district's page, and maybe that holder of that account blocks someone, like perhaps they block a parent from their social media account of whatever kind, and it's linked to the district page, is there any, what's the procedure for that? Or should we set
Yeah,
one?
I think that would be something we'd have to research. I don't know if I can.
Okay, so it's
Okay.
kind of up to the user. That might be something to look at maybe in the next time we review that, because I have heard things like that happening, and it doesn't seem, it seems like there should be some procedure if it's linked to the district website, that there should be some reason or authorization why a parent or someone would be blocked from someone's account. And then just for clarification, this is on the internet technology piece, but we do also have a social media policy. And in that social media policy, it does specify that individuals cannot speak on behalf of the district, that kind of thing, but really they are free to like or comment on any page that they would desire without retribution from anyone in the district. Is that correct? We're talking about technology, so that's, okay, it was a clarification piece for me. So, talking about policy in general, so if we need to have that for a discussion item on another day, I'm fine with that too, but I would like that clarification, that employees can like or comment on any page that they like to, unless unless they're speaking as a district representation. Is that correct?
They could like a page if they're not
Yeah.
representing the district.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion made to accept the policy with the amendments that we just seen. Is there a second? Any other discussion?
I'll just put one more comment tag on the last questioning that I was using. It's because I've actually experienced that in this district, as being pressure brought to bear for even something that a family member liked. You know, that's kind of the entire atmosphere that I'm addressing. So I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
All in favor, aye? Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. We're adjourned, thanks.